SANCCOB started in 1968 by a group of people who saw the need for penguins to be rehabilitated, and this really is at the heart of the organization today. During the past 40 odd years, we continue our rehabilitation work where we've rehabilitated more than 90,000 seabirds to date. We also complement this work by doing environmental education, as we believe the youngsters of today need to know what are the issues and what they can do about it. We also believe in applied research that will benefit the birds in our care as well as seabirds in the wild.
SANCCOB was started in 1968 by Althea Westphal. Since those early days, SANCCOB has grown into a multi-dimensional organization, but at the heart of the organization remains our passion to care for African penguins and other seabirds. When SANCCOB started, it was pretty much a reactive response to whatever was happening. Over the years, we've looked at this and said, how can we make our services better and be more proactive in the way that we can be more ready? Spills with things like that, you can't predict them. So we do a lot of training. What we've done in the last while is we have taken our training and we've formalized it. And we share that with a lot of people in our field, in the environmental sector. People can't love what they don't know. So we spend a lot of time educating, especially children, and children that live by the sea. They can't love a bird if they don't know where it fits into the whole chain of things.
So I think Nick's leaving with us. So could you get those guys from home again? Bring them up. SANCCOB is primarily a rehabilitation facility for seabirds. So we are looking after all the seabirds that we see along the southern African coast. The birds that we see either come into us oiled or injured or sick, as well as abandoned chicks that we rear. Once a bird is at SANCCOB, it goes through an admitting process. We give it a number, so every single seabird is an individual that we look after. They get extra vitamins, they get electrolyte solution, and once they're in SANCCOB, they undergo rehabilitation in terms of us giving their fluids to correct any dehydration and feeding these birds up so that they get stronger, as well as any birds that will need antibiotic or any other specialized treatment. With an oiled bird, we will, once a bird is strong enough, we will wash the bird, clean its feathers, and the next part of the whole rehabilitation is to swim the birds so that their feathers are all nice and waterproof. And during this whole process, we are also bleeding the birds once a week to make sure that they're nice and healthy, they're not anemic or anything like that, and weighing them to make sure that they're putting on adequate amounts of weight. Once the birds are swimming for an hour at a time and they're nice and waterproof, they've put on adequate weight and their blood parameters are all normal, we then consider those birds for release. So we do the whole process from when the bird is discovered on the island to getting that bird back out into the wild. Traditionally, SANCCOB has been linked to many oiling incidents. It used to be our main function in terms of what we did at SANCCOB. So, for instance, in 2000, the Treasure sank and we looked after close on 20,000 oiled birds. So SANCCOB has a little bit of experience when it comes to dealing with oiled penguins. When oiled birds come in, the first thing we have to do is give them a lot of fluids because they're generally very dehydrated because they haven't been able to swim and catch fish. So we need to give them a lot of fluids as well as feed them up, make them nice and strong so that they can withstand the washing process. Once they are nice and strong, the washing is quite a vigorous process. It takes 2 people to wash a bird and another 2 people to rinse the bird. And this whole process, depending on how badly oiled a penguin is, takes approximately an hour to 2 hours per bird. So it's very labor intensive, but it's very important to get every single drop of oil off that bird, and then to also rinse off all the feathers from all the washing products. After the bird has been rinsed, he then will stand in a heated room with infrared light to dry all his feathers up. And over the next few days, we will start forcing him to swim so that he can start regaining all his normal natural waterproofing. We get a few birds over the whole of our winter months coming in every single day, and we think this is from the rough seas affecting shipwrecks and little bits of oil trickling up to the surface, and the birds are getting oiled in that, as well as possibly in the rough seas the boats are cleaning their bilge tanks out at sea and the birds are getting oiled in that dirty water. And that chronic oiling we see every single year throughout the winter months, whereas an oil spill is normally quite a well-defined event. That doesn't necessarily happen every year, but when it does happen, it can often be catastrophic. SANCCOB is now recognized as a world leader in responding to oil spills, and specifically oil spills that are affecting penguins. So if anybody finds an injured or oiled seabird on the South African coast, the first thing to do is to establish whether you can actually approach the bird, because if you can get close to the bird and even touch it, there's a good chance that there's something wrong with the bird. It's important to give us a call so that we can arrange to either collect this bird or ask you to take the bird to somewhere where we can collect it from. SANCCOB looks after all species of seabirds, so if you're walking on the beach or anything and you see a penguin or a cormorant or perhaps a gannet or a gull, these are all birds that we will look after. If you can call us about those if you're worried about them at all. We do also look after other species such as oyster catchers or pelicans, all sorts of birds that generally eat fish. SANCCOB is also involved in a few research programs. One of these is a health survey of mainly African penguins in the wild, and this also fits our aim of trying to be proactive in terms of conservation of these species, to try and figure out levels of disease that may be present in the wild population, as well as what normal values are, so that we can manage these populations on the colonies more effectively if we need to respond to any sort of disease threat. The other project that we're also involved in is an African penguin chick bolstering project, and this is where we actively remove abandoned chicks from the islands and hand rear them at SANCCOB, because we know that hand reared chicks fare as well in the wild as naturally reared chicks, and this means that we are conserving penguin numbers, because these chicks would definitely die in the wild if they were not removed for hand rearing.
Recently, the African penguin was reclassified as endangered, and this is because of a continuous decline in the population in the wild. Factors that are contributing to the decline is the shortage of food, climate change, and the risk of pollution. The shortage of food results in the birds not being able to breed at their optimum, and also that the adults are not able to feed their chicks properly. And this is where the Chick Bolstering Project tries to support and bolster the wild population. As an extension of the Chick Bolstering Project, SANCCOB has recently opened the chick facility in Table View. So apart from continuing with our work to rear chicks abandoned by parents, we also now have the facility to develop the expertise to hatch and rear chicks from the egg stage.
The public can help SANCCOB in many ways. One of the big ways that they can help is to volunteer their time. How they would go about that is they would call us, and we will then evaluate where they could fit into this team, and we'd slot them in and keep them on our database. One of the other ways is SANCCOB has an unfunded mandate to respond to oil spills on the South African coast, and all our work that we do is funded through public donations or through foundations or projects that we run. So there's a way that you can really help. If you go on the website, it's www.sanccob.co.za. You can hit the donate button, you can adopt a penguin, you can adopt a chick, you can take care of a home pen bird. There's a million things you can do. You can buy beautiful things online. It's kind of a one-stop shop for people that love seabirds and especially penguins.